Hi everybody, Adam here. Today we're taking a look at how to store and transport your Lego trains. Now, recently I was fortunate to be able to participate in a Lego train display, and as part of that I took a number of Mills modules, but I also took several trains to run around the layout. And the two methods that I used for storing and transporting my Lego trains were this Ikea storage container called Sockerbit, Sockerbit. I'll include a link below in case you're interested in learning more about it. And then I also used a Sterilite container that I had here in the Lego room as well. Now, first off, taking a look at the IKEA storage container, the advantage of this and why I picked up this particular container, really liked the fact that it was a very long and wide container that was relatively shallow. When I'm taking trains like this, my preference is not to be stacking them on top of each other. So something that is shallow but has a lot of width and depth to it is really advantageous for me. I believe the dimensions of this are 19 inches in that direction and about 30 inches across here, which is a really good size. Now, this container also has a lid that allows you to open and close it, on either side. So it's got the hinge in the middle. So really easy to get into one particular half of the bin if you're trying to pull out one particular set of trains. And it also lifts off really easily so you can access the entire container. Now, that's a bit of a pro and a con. Really easy to access the entire contents of the container, but it also means that lid is not super tight on there. So you do want to be careful in case it happens to slide off. I wouldn't want to tilt this container in any way, shape, or form, but it does provide a solid surface on top of the bin to keep things out of the bin. Now you can see I was able to fit a number of train cars in the storage container. Again, the size really works well for this sort of thing. The issue that I have, and something that I want to work towards, improving for the next time I go and display at a show, is that really easy for these train cars to move around in the storage container. Now, I packed these relatively tight, so there's not a lot of wiggle room, but there's definitely, ways that the train cars can slide around as you're carrying them, or, as they're sitting in a car and the car is moving and going around corners. Lots of different ways that some of these things can slide back and forth and jiggle a little bit. Not, a huge deal with some of these cars. The Union Pacific cars, fairly sturdy, not too worried about them. The new Lego passenger train cars, fairly sturdy. When it comes to the Canada wheat hopper here, not quite as sturdy. I mean, the overall body of the train car is quite sturdy, but all of these little grate pieces that are along the top, really easy for those to come off. And, not a huge thing to put those back on, but, I prefer to try to minimize the amount of fix-up work that I have to do with train cars when I'm taking them. And, there are more fragile train cars that I could take that, than even this, that would require potentially more time to put back together. So I really want to find a way to avoid as much of that fix-up as possible. Now, so what I'm considering, and we'll talk more about this in a future video once I sort of test drive it, but I'm thinking of putting a layer of wood in at the bottom here, and then carving out basically grooves that the train wheels can sit in. So they can sit in there and it'll be a fixed sort of pattern, I guess, that the train cars can go in, and it won't allow for a lot of wiggling back and forth. So that's kind of my thought process. It will mean that if I come up with a particular layout for a bin like this, probably only a limited set of train cars will work for that that layout, because frequently these train cars are all different lengths and sizes. There's probably some wiggle room that I can build into the system, but the more, I guess, leeway that you provide in those access points for the wheels to sit in, the more opportunity for things to shift around. There's probably some options I could put in as well, like if I had long tracks sort of carved into the wood, I could probably put little brakes or stoppers in based on the length of the train car that was going in. So, one of the nice things about this bin, it works as it is for this particular method of transporting the train cars, but it does still give me some height here to play with, adding that surface down below. So really happy overall. This worked. I didn't have too many issues, just a few minor fix-ups, but that's kind of where I want to take it in the future, to try to further optimize this and to give me a little bit more peace of mind when I'm transporting train cars. And it would also then allow me to consider taking like I said, some of the more delicate train cars that I have, and some of the more delicate locomotives, if I had a system like this where I could be pretty rest assured that once the train car goes in, it's not going to be shifting around anywhere. Now, the other method I used for transporting train cars, as I mentioned, was the Sterilite container. This is a general purpose storage container that I have here in the Lego room, and basically put this into action because I just had a few more train cars that I wanted to bring, and I actually have a second one of these bigger containers, but I didn't have enough train cars to put in there, and I didn't want them to be shifting all over the place. So you can see here, largely just creating a flat surface across the bottom there with all the train cars wedged as best as I could get them, to make sure that they wouldn't shift around too much. And then I put the small train car here. I had it gently resting on top of the one car there, so that it could fit in here and hopefully not shift around too much. Now, you'll notice with this particular type of storage container, a lot of wasted space up above. You're using just that flat bottom surface there. One of the things that I think could work for a container like this would be to potentially build in, with wood or some other material, kind of a second tier, a shelf basically, that would go across. So you'd have your initial train cars that would go on the bottom, and then you would insert the shelf in, and then you could put another layer of cars on the top. So, like I mentioned, both of these methods worked. I got my train cars all to the show and back from the show in basically one piece. Or with minimal fix-ups required. So they're both very functional. But, as I said, for future shows, I would like to be able to take some more fragile train cars. I'd like to be able to take more train cars. So the more sort of secure the trains can be inside of these storage containers. And the more I can optimize these storage containers to minimize the sort of dead space in them, the better overall. So this is definitely going to be a system that evolves over time, but I was quite happy with how it performed for this this first show. And it's one of the fun things is after a show and after doing something, you learn and then you can sort of iterate on the design. So I'm looking forward to kind of applying these learnings and seeing what I can do going forward. As I mentioned, I'll include a link for the Ikea storage container down below. And I'll include the details here. You can see the Sterilite dimensions, just kind of a standard file folder storage, plastic storage bin, fairly common and relatively easy to find. So that concludes our look at how we stored and transported our Lego trains to a train show. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for watching. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.